Good evening, everyone. Today, I want to speak to your hearts, not your minds. I want you to listen not just with your ears, but with your soul, because this message is simple, yet profound. There's always a ray of hope. Be hopeful. Life has its storms, heartbreak, failure, rejection, loss, and moments where everything seems to fall apart. But even in the darkest of nights, the stars still shine. Even behind the thickest clouds, the sun still rises. And even when your soul feels crushed, there's always a tiny light that can grow. If you choose hope, hope is not just a feeling, it's a belief that something good is still possible, a belief that no matter what you faced, your story isn't over. People who achieve greatness are not always the most talented or the luckiest. They are often the most hopeful. They believe in tomorrow even when today is broken. So, no matter what you're going through right now, financial struggle, emotional breakdown, self doubt, loneliness, or loss, I want you to pause, breathe, and remember this too shall pass. Life is constantly changing. Every winter eventually ends. Every tunnel has an exit. Every problem contains the seed of a solution, and every wound can turn into wisdom. If you keep moving forward with hope in your heart, you're not alone. You're not powerless. And most importantly, you are not finished. The future still holds beauty for you. And as long as you're breathing, there is time to change, heal, rise, and shine. So let your hope be louder than your fears. Let your belief in tomorrow overpower your doubts about today. Because there's always a ray of hope if you choose to see it. Even during the most painful and uncertain times in life, hope remains. It might be hidden or faint, but it's never fully gone. Like stars in the night sky, hope becomes more visible when the world around you turns dark. It reminds us that despair is not the end. It's just a phase. Many people believe hope is something that comes to you, but in reality, it's a decision. Choosing to see a possibility when all signs point to failure is a powerful act. When you train your mind to seek solutions, growth, and positivity, hope becomes a habit, not a rare visitor. Failure and loss are not dead ends. They are detours, and within them lies the opportunity to rebuild stronger. When you hold on to hope, you begin to look at problems differently, not as punishment, but as preparation. That mindset changes your entire direction in life. Hope creates endurance. It keeps your spirit alive when your body is tired. When you're hopeful about your future, even the smallest progress feels meaningful. This belief in a better tomorrow empowers you to take action today, no matter how small. Everyone suffers. Everyone feels lost at times. And many have walked the path you're on now and come out stronger. When you remember this, hope begins to bloom. Shared human experience gives you strength and courage. You realize if they made it, you can too. Whatever is happening right now is temporary. Pain is not permanent. Struggles are not your identity. Your current situation doesn't cancel out your future potential. As long as you're alive, there is room for change, transformation, and redemption. Hope doesn't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes it's in the smallest things, getting out of bed, smiling again, reaching out for help, or simply believing you matter. These small actions, driven by hope, create a ripple effect that leads to bigger healing and growth. No invention, movement, or transformation has ever happened without hope. It fuels change. Hope makes you believe you're worthy of love, success, peace, and happiness. It is the inner fire that turns dreams into plans and plans into reality. Without hope, nothing begins. With hope, anything is possible. Life often throws us into moments that feel unbearably dark. Instead of seeing setbacks as permanent, you begin to view them as temporary phases, part of the journey, not the destination. What's even more empowering is that the choice to hope is one that can be made over and over again, no matter how many times life tries to take it from you. It is not a one-time decision, but a daily commitment, a practice that builds mental resilience. Over time, the more you choose hope, the more natural it becomes. You develop an internal compass that always points you toward growth, healing, and forward motion. Life is not a straight line, and success is rarely a smooth journey. It's often filled with setbacks, moments that feel like failure, disappointment, or complete defeat. But what most people fail to see in these moments is that within every setback lies the hidden potential for a powerful comeback. These low points are not the end of your story, they are the turning points. If you look closely, every struggle contains a lesson, every fall plants a seed, and every dead end pushes you toward a new beginning. When we experience failure, it can feel like the world is closing in. Rejection stings. Rejection stings. Loss weakens us. Mistakes embarrass us. But in truth, these setbacks are often wake-up calls. Signals that it's time to grow, time to shift our direction, or time to reevaluate our values and approach. They shake us, but they also shape us. They force us to dig deeper into ourselves, to discover strengths we didn't know we had, and to develop resilience that smooth victories could never teach. History is filled with stories of people who turned massive setbacks into legendary comebacks. Think of inventors who failed hundreds of times before success, artists who were rejected by everyone until one person gave them a chance, athletes who were told they'd never play again only to return stronger than ever. What separated them from those who gave up was not just talent or luck. It was their ability to recognize that failure was not final. They treated setbacks not as dead ends, but as detours, not as destruction, but as direction. What's important to understand is that a setback isn't meant to break you. It's meant to awaken something in you. It teaches you to be resourceful. It forces you to adapt, to rethink, and to restart with better insight. Sometimes we need to be knocked down in order to rise differently, with more clarity, more focus, and more appreciation for the journey itself. The seed of a comeback doesn't grow instantly. It requires nurturing through reflection, persistence, and above all, hope. When you begin to look at your challenges as setups for a stronger return, your entire perspective shifts. You stop seeing failure as shameful and start viewing it as essential. You begin to understand that nothing truly worthwhile comes without resistance. Every time you get back up, you plant a new seed, one that grows stronger because it sprouted from adversity, not comfort. One of the most powerful forces a person can possess is the belief that a better tomorrow is possible. This belief is not just comforting, it's energizing. It gives you something to live for, something to fight for, and something to hold on to when everything around you feels heavy. When life is difficult and your current situation feels unbearable, the simple act of believing that things can improve in the future provides an anchor of emotional strength to help you survive today. Think of how people endure pain, illness, loneliness, or hardship. They endure it because they believe it won't last forever. This belief, this quiet confidence that the struggle is temporary, fuels patience, courage, and resilience. It transforms how we respond to life. Instead of giving up, we keep going. Instead of shutting down, we stay open. Hope for tomorrow makes the weight of today bearable, not because it removes the burden, but because it makes us stronger in carrying it. This belief in a better future also gives purpose to the present. When we imagine something good ahead, whether it's recovery, success, peace, love, or simply inner stability, we are more likely to take positive actions right now. We begin to plant seeds even in barren soil. We begin to invest in ourselves, even when progress feels invisible. We start to make small moves, take small steps, and build habits that align with the future we hope to experience. These small steps, repeated daily, eventually become the bridge between where we are and where we want to be. Hope for tomorrow also protects us from the emotional traps of today, despair, bitterness, and hopelessness. It reminds us that our current reality is not our final destination. It encourages us to keep writing our story instead of closing the book too soon. It gives us a vision, and that vision becomes a source of daily motivation. Even when nothing around us changes immediately, this inner belief keeps our spirits alive and helps us navigate hardship with dignity and strength. This kind of forward-thinking mindset creates a sense of emotional momentum of being It becomes easier to endure temporary pain when you truly believe that something better is waiting ahead. You no longer see your efforts as pointless. You see them as preparation. You begin to understand that every effort you make today, no matter how small or invisible it seems, is shaping the outcome of your future. And in that understanding, you find the strength to keep moving even when the journey is steep. One of the most isolating feelings in the world is believing that you are the only one going through pain, confusion, or failure. When you're overwhelmed by grief, disappointment, or emotional fatigue, your mind can convince you that no one truly understands, that your suffering is unique, and that you're completely alone in your experience. But the truth is far more comforting. You are never alone in your struggles. Every person, no matter how confident they seem or how successful they appear, has faced moments of doubt, fear, sadness, and insecurity. Behind the strongest smiles are stories of battles fought quietly. Behind every achievement lies a journey filled with challenges, setbacks, and silent tears. Just because people don't always talk about their pain doesn't mean they haven't endured it. And just because someone has made it through doesn't mean they didn't once feel exactly how you do now. Realizing this truth is powerful, It connects you to the shared human experience, the universal truth that struggle is part of life for everyone. When you open your heart to that idea, you begin to feel less isolated. You start to recognize that what you're feeling is not a weakness, but part of what it means to be human. You're not broken. You're just living through one of the many difficult chapters that every soul encounters at some point. Sometimes all it takes is a single conversation with someone who says, "I've been there too," to completely shift your perspective. Support doesn't always come from grand gestures. It can come from small acts of empathy, a kind word, a shared story, or a moment of deep understanding. Whether it's a friend, a mentor, a family member, a book, a video, or even a stranger on the internet, someone out there knows what it feels like to stand where you're standing. In addition to human connection, even stories from history, literature, and art remind us that suffering has been part of the human narrative across cultures and time. People have endured wars, famines, heartbreaks, loss, failure, exile, and they have not only survived, but grown. When you read or hear about their journeys, you realize that your current pain is not a dead end. It's a page in a larger, meaningful story. Understanding that you're not alone also opens the door for healing. It makes it easier to ask for help, to express your emotions without shame, and to seek comfort without guilt. It dissolves the false image that everyone else is doing fine while you're falling apart. It helps you release the pressure of pretending to be strong all the time. Because in truth, strength is not the absence of struggle. It's the courage to face it with openness, honesty, and the willingness to reach out. It's easy to get trapped by the belief that your current circumstances are a permanent reflection of who you are and where you're headed. When you're stuck in a tough season, financially unstable, emotionally drained, spiritually lost, or feeling like a failure, the mind starts to paint a bleak picture of the future using only the colors of the present. But this is one of the greatest illusions of struggle. The idea that how things are now is how they'll always be. The truth is, the present moment, no matter how painful, messy, or unclear, is just one chapter in a much larger story. It is not your entire identity. It is not your final destination. Or your current struggles are only a part of your journey, not the conclusion of it. Life is constantly evolving. You are constantly evolving. And just because things feel difficult now doesn't mean they will stay that way. Too often, people let their current limitations define their long-term self-worth. They assume because they're failing now, they will always be failures. Because they're alone now, they'll always be lonely. Because they're lost now, they'll never find direction. But if you look back on your life, you'll realize there have been countless times when you overcame things you once thought you'd never survive. There were phases that felt endless, but they ended. There were burdens that felt too heavy, but you carried them. The same will happen again, as long as you understand that today is not a life sentence, but a season. Change is always possible. In fact, it is inevitable. New opportunities can arise at any time. Healing can happen slowly, quietly, and then all at once. A single decision can begin to reshape your life. A new habit, a new mindset, or a new connection can trigger a ripple effect that alters the course of your future in ways you can't even imagine from where you are right now. That's the power of hope. It helps you see beyond the walls that currently surround you. Also, it's important to understand that even the difficult parts of the present are not wasted. They are teaching you something. They are refining your character, strengthening your resilience, and preparing you for what comes next. What feels like delay or punishment may actually be a period of growth and transformation, laying the groundwork for a future you cannot yet see. The most successful and inspiring people in the world were often those who refused to be defined by their lowest points. They were once broke, depressed, rejected, or forgotten, but they kept moving, kept believing, and kept becoming. They saw their current hardship not as a definition of who they were, but as a necessary stage in becoming who they were meant to be. When people think of hope, they often imagine grand gestures, a life-changing breakthrough, a dramatic comeback, or an overwhelming moment of inspiration. But the truth is, hope doesn't always roar. Most of the time, it arrives quietly disguised in the smallest of actions. A single step forward, no matter how tiny, can carry the weight of immense inner courage. These seemingly insignificant acts, when repeated with faith and consistency, have the power to create life-altering change over time. Waking up and choosing to face another day, that's an act of hope. Getting out of bed when you feel emotionally exhausted, taking care of yourself when your mind is full of anxiety, writing one sentence when your dream is to finish a book. These are not minor moments. They are powerful declarations that you haven't given up. Even smiling at a stranger, reaching out to someone for help, drinking water to take care of your body, or making your bed after days of chaos. These are the steps that begin to rebuild a shattered foundation. The magic of small actions lies in their consistency. Each time you take a hopeful step, no matter how small, you're strengthening the belief that things can get better. These little wins compound. One push-up becomes 10. One honest conversation becomes a support system. One moment of silence turns into clarity. Eventually, these actions form new habits, and those habits shape your reality. Every major transformation begins with a first step. And that first step often looks like a whisper of hope, not a shout. Small acts of hope also help you shift your focus. Instead of drowning in what you can't control, you begin to invest in what you can. You stop waiting for the perfect moment or the ideal conditions and start working with what you have. And in doing so, you take back your power. You become an active participant in your healing, your progress, and your dreams. You stop feeling like a victim of life and start feeling like a co-creator of it. Even in the darkest seasons, the tiniest actions can ignite change. Lighting a candle in a dark room doesn't eliminate the darkness, but it starts the process. Likewise, writing in a journal, going for a walk, saying a prayer, reading a few pages of a good book, these actions may seem too small to matter, but they anchor you. They remind you that you are not stagnant, you are moving, you are trying, and that in itself is a beautiful act of defiance against despair. In the end, hope grows where action lives. The more small steps you take, the more momentum you build. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes manageable, and what once felt like survival becomes strength. These small daily efforts, though often invisible to others, are quietly and powerfully changing the course of your life. Every great invention, every social movement, every story of transformation, and every personal victory has something in common at its core: hope. It is the invisible engine that powers human progress. Without hope, motivation dies, purpose fades, and forward movement stalls. But when hope is present, it becomes a powerful force that pushes us to dream, to act, and to rise beyond our current limitations. Hope is what drives people to begin, to start a journey, to chase a goal, to heal from pain, or to rebuild after devastation. It creates the belief that change is possible, even when nothing around us suggests it. It allows us to see potential in ourselves when others only see flaws. Hope fuels persistence. It keeps the flame alive when the world goes dark. Every meaningful pursuit, from fighting injustice to building a business to overcoming personal demons, starts with the inner voice that says, there is something better ahead. When you look at the greatest figures in history, leaders, thinkers, visionaries, artists, survivors, they were not strangers to hardship. What made them extraordinary wasn't that they avoided struggle, but that they believed in progress despite it. They clung to hope in times of uncertainty and built futures that didn't yet exist. Martin Luther King Jr., Malala Yousafzai, Thomas Edison, Nelson Mandela, Helen Keller, all of them had every reason to give up, but they didn't. Because hope gave them a vision, and that vision gave them the strength to keep going. Even on a personal level, hope gives birth to effort. Without it, why would anyone try to change? Why would a person work on improving their health, their relationships, their mindset, or their circumstances if they didn't believe it would make a difference? Hope tells us that effort matters, that our actions are meaningful, that we are not stuck in one version of life forever. It builds bridges from today's challenges to tomorrow's possibilities. Hope also plays a crucial role in our mental and emotional well-being. It shields us from despair, helps us cope with uncertainty, and strengthens our resilience. When people lose hope, they often lose direction and begin to feel that nothing matters. But when people hold on to hope, even the smallest fragment, they find strength they didn't know they had. They begin to make progress one step at a time, and in doing so, they rediscover their capacity for growth and change. It's important to understand that hope isn't naive optimism. It doesn't ignore difficulty or pretend that everything will magically work out. Instead, it acknowledges the obstacles and still insists on the possibility of overcoming them. It brings purpose to pain, direction to wandering, and light to the uncertain road ahead. So as you walk through the highs and lows of life, carry this truth with you. Your current situation is not your final destination. No matter how heavy the burdens, no matter how silent the nights, there is a light that still burns within you, and that light is hope. Don't wait for perfect conditions to believe in a better tomorrow. Start now, right where you are, with what little strength you have left. Hold on to that flicker of hope and protect it fiercely, because that small light, when nurtured, has the power to ignite transformation in ways you never imagined. Storms will come and darkness may linger. But always remember, there is always a ray of hope, and sometimes that ray is you. Thank you.